Let me show you how we can install older versions of Daz Studio on your system that can run side by side to the ones that are installed through Install Manager, even from a USB stick or from an external drive or from wherever. Just in case you need older versions, here's how we install them. I'm going to cover how to get them a little later. Let's just go and cover the installation process. It installs a zip file that I have in my downloads folder here already. This is it here. It sounds something like funny. IM large number, and then somewhere it says Daz Studio 421, so that would be 4.21 Win64, and it's a zip file. So currently the latest version that was just come out is Daz Studio 4.22, and many of you were saying, hey, there's some features in there I wish I hadn't installed that. How can we get this back? And this is how you would do that. So you can go and right click on this file and then just say extract all. And I'm just going to go and put it here into my downloads folder very unceremoniously. I'm just going to go and hit extract and let it run. And once we have that, we will end up with a folder. And in that folder, you're going to dig deep into this and you will find the executable that you can double click and then run Daz Studio as if it was installed through Install Manager. And there we have it. Perfect. So now we have this folder here. And I'm just going to leave it in here, but you can copy this anywhere you like. So you can also rename it if you like. Just don't rename anything inside of here. So we have in that folder, we have Daz Studio 4.5 64-bit, and that is in fact where the current version of Daz Studio is hiding. So double click that. Then there's Daz 3D, double click that. Then there's Daz Studio 4, double click that. And then in here you have all kinds of files, one of which is dazstudio.exe, 94 kilobytes in size, so fairly small, but that is of course going to launch other important stuff in the background. So if I double click that, we give it a second, and there it is, Daz Studio 4.21, and it is now after the release of Daz Studio 4.22. Isn't that amazing? So the problem is getting a hold of these installer files. So when you use Install Manager, and by the way, if you're still using Daz Central, please get rid of it because it is no longer supported. There we go. Default layout and all the rest of it. So perfect. I can start working with it. Daz Central is no longer supported. So if you found that it doesn't work anymore for installing content or applications, or you can't find content anymore, then it is likely that Daz maybe have switched off some APIs at their end. That is possible. I have heard that they have stopped developing it altogether and they're withdrawing it. So you can't really download this anymore from the website. So the way to do this is now to use Install Manager for everything. Just an aside there. But Install Manager, when that runs, you have an option here under ready to install, and if you haven't ticked this box here, then you might be in luck and you will find anything that Install Manager has recently installed. So if you've already upgraded to the latest version of Daz Studio, currently 4.22, you will no longer have that installer file for 4.21. So it doesn't keep that around. It only keeps it around what it's currently got installed. However, if you've selected this box here to save some space, then all the installers are deleted the moment things are installed into your program directory. So if you haven't enabled this, and this is the default behavior here, then you can head over into another funky little folder on your hard drive, namely in your C drive here, under users, under public, and there's public documents. If you go in there, you will find Daz 3D, and there you'll find Install Manager. So Install Manager in the downloads folder will keep around what I've recently got installed. And it's got two files here. It's got the DSX file, which is the so-called manifest file, and it's got the zip file, which is the actual installer file that keeps your zipped files that are basically being unzipped, and Install Manager uses this for the metadata to keep track of it. So I have the publishing build here, and I slightly further down here I have the release version of Daz 4.22 right now. So knowing that before you upgrade, and if you have maybe a second system around that hasn't seen an update in a while, this is where you'll find the old installer files. Failing that, if you can't get a hold of those, you might ask nicely in the forum. I keep mine around. I've been using Daz Studio for like 15, 16, 17 years. I can't even remember, close to 20 years. And I usually keep my older versions around for the eventuality that I do do need an older version to test this with. So that is how to do that. I'm not sure if you are allowed legally to distribute these things. I really can't tell you, but yeah, it's one of those things that that I keep them around just for the eventuality that I do need to load older scenes that do misbehave in the latest version of DAZ Studio. Most of which is actually the latest version of iRay that sometimes introduces features. So don't blame DAZ for something that no longer works when iRay or the developers of iRay, which isn't NVIDIA anymore, by the way, make a change. So it's out of DAZ's control. It's one of those things. I do strongly recommend, just on this, while we're talking about this, and I've been saying this for years, I strongly recommend that if a new version of DAZ Studio comes out, do not install it right away. Instead, what you want to do is go and install the beta version that you can get from the store at daz3d.com/DAZ-studio-beta. And it's a free product you have to check out, but then it appears in your install manager. In fact, let me show you that. It's good to have that, because then you can update that, leave the release version alone, and see if the new version fits your bill. Like I use the publishing build and the beta version and the release version. So if you just type in beta, then eventually you see these yellow labels here, and those are the things that are the public beta versions. Like here, this one, DAZ Studio 4.22 public beta. So this is a few ticks ahead of the release version. So what you can do is you install this, that is the latest version and even newer sometimes, and you can use the release version side by side. So the release version can still be an older version and you don't update that. Instead, you use the beta version until you're absolutely happy it behaves the way you want it to, and if it doesn't, well, don't update the release version. And make sure those installers are secured on your hard drive, just in case you do need to bring them back. Thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, then drop them down in the comments, and I hope I will see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.